Right, let's take a look at what should be bunch sprint number 5 of this year's tour. Stage 12, 218 kilometres, setting out from Fougères in Brittany into the Loire, so be on Chateau alert. In terms of terrain, not much else on the route other than the intermediate sprint at 166 kilometres. Too far from the finish for the day's break to have been caught, but it'll be a massive upset if they haven't been by the time the race reaches Tours. There are a couple of right-hand turns inside the final kilometres a day where the sprint will most likely be won or lost.
With a brisk wind in their faces to slow proceedings down, the last 4.5 kilometres runs flat and wide alongside the River Cher. And for those occupied with the sprint finish, that's about as bad as it gets, because the lack of obstacles and relatively low speeds gives a real armchair ride to the peloton. So there's going to be an awful lot of bodies left in play when they arrive here. Maybe it was mischief on behalf of the organisers, or maybe just an innocent attempt to find a space large enough to house the cavalcade of the Tour de France. Whatever the motivations, 2 right-hand bends inside the last 700 metres is definitely going to have an impact on the race. So yet again, it looks like it's all going to come down to a battle for lead-out supremacy. Despite being more than halfway through the 2013 race, no team has yet been able to dominate. Despite having the fastest sprinter in the world, faring least well to this point is Omega Pharma Quick-Step, who will still be smarting from their performance in Saint-Malo and will be desperately trying to get it right for Cavendish today. But they'll be up against a buoyant Argos Shimano, who, for my money, propelled their man Kittel to victory just 48 hours ago, and their nose in front in the sprint team stakes. And of course, André Greipel and his Lotto Belisol squad, who got it together on their second attempt to take stage 6, will be trying to overhaul them both. So on every sprint stage so far, we've seen a huge battle for control, followed by just a few bodies remaining to slug out the sprint. And I don't see any reason to expect anything different here in Tours.
10 kilometres to go for Juan Antonio Flecha. He was 7 seconds off being caught. He's now gone out 19, they're saying, back to 21. They don't know where he is right now.
Well, he's had a lot of success in the one-day classics like Paris-Roubaix and the Tour of Flanders. He enjoys going up to the northern part of Europe in the early part of the year and the season in April to ride those races. And today he's hoping that there'll be some mistakes created in the main field and he might hold on a few more seconds on his run down towards the finish. But I'm just convinced that the sprinters will get it organised very shortly. His body is screaming out now in agony, saying, please stop this pain. But he knows that as long as the main field are not on his back wheel, he still can nurture a hope that somebody will make a mistake. They might go the wrong way. They might be an accident at the front end of the main field. Now the trains are taking it much more seriously.
Coming from the course, Paul, are saying it's now 10 seconds. Orica Greenedge intent, listening to what Robbie McEwen told them today. There is Juan Antonio right in the target sights of the peloton now. But Robbie saying that the winner of the stage must be on the inside of that final bend to pick up the tailwind first.
Well, that's the important thing. 2 right-hand bends. You've got to fight for those final 2 bends, and that's why I think we're waiting for the sprinters to really turn on the gas. It's not much more now than 50 metres advantage for Juan Antonio Flecha. They go under the highway which circumnavigates Tours here, the Boulevard Périphérique. Juan Antonio Flecha just about to get picked up, but there's a lot of lead-out teams now starting to get themselves organised. But you can see the Australian squad, Orica Greenedge, are very, very keen. But all the teams, Phil, would have studied this running down towards the finish.
Yeah.
You see Lotto Belisol moving up on the right-hand side, just at the top of the road.
Very good riding by Orica Greenedge at the moment. Now, they've done this before, and unfortunately, Matthew Goss has not been able to follow his team through the melee at the end. So let's see if it works out for them today. Will be a new name on the block amongst the sprinters, that's for sure. They're splitting up because of these central reservation markers, and we're getting 2 races left and right now, like the famous British horse race, the Derby, where they always race on opposite sides of the fence. But it's Saxo Tinkoff now at the front as well.
Well, this is not for the sprint. This is to keep Alberto Contador, who lies in 4th place in the overall standings, at the front of the race, to make sure that if there is a split in the peloton on the running towards the finish, he doesn't lose any time here or there. You've also got the team at Movistar, who have Alejandro Valverde in 2nd place overall. Well, they were there a few moments ago. And Chris Froome is slipping down this main field. Now's the time when I'd expect to see Orica Green Edge being challenged by Argos Shimano. Those are the riders in the white jerseys riding very close together. Over on the left-hand side now, the riders with the 20s on their back, those are the riders from Lotto Belisol, and at the back of that line is Andre Greipel.
Well, Simon Clark has done his hard turn at the front. He's now slipped away on the right for Orica Green Edge. They're bringing Chris Froome back into safe waters here, being guided up by Peter Kenyuk into safe areas of the peloton, because these are hazardous moments for the Tour de France. A fall now and he'd lose time. Once he's inside 3 kilometres to go, if he fell, he would get the same time as the winner of the race today. So he's not safe for 2 more kilometres yet, Chris Froome. 5 kilometres to go now. The peloton are together as they race now, being escorted by the Australians Orica Green Edge. It's difficult to work all the sprinters through just for the moment.
Well, 5 kilometres to go. They were under the control of Orica Green Edge. They're thinking about their Australian sprinter, Matty Goss. He's been a very prolific winner on the international circuit, but of late he's never really been able to get the finishing off because something's always happened in front of him. So Orica Green Edge, at 5 kilometres to go, are quite happy to set that very fast tempo to keep it
there's
out.
crash. The leader fell,
bridge.
and he fell of his own volition there as he went down. Watch this, at the right on the front, leans over, hits a spot of dust maybe, and slides away safely.
Well, this is the problem, Phil, when you come into town. This is the man who's on the front. He came into that corner much too fast. He lost the front wheel, and he put a little bit of confusion onto the shoulders of his teammates. There's Gert Steegmans. He's the last rider in that big group, and just sitting on his wheel, you can hardly notice him. Keeping out of the wind is Mark Cavendish.
Yes, a big turn this by Chavanel as they all dive into the right here to get the advantage of the corner. Kwiatkowski is the 2nd rider in line, white jersey but same team as Mark Cavendish. He's doing his job today, even though he leads the race. Underneath we go, out the other side we come. Everybody now trying to reposition. The 3rd green jersey in our picture is Peter Sagan, holding on to position at the front.
Well, they're all now having to battle for position. That's what you have to do when you're a sprinter. You've got to take a few risks. You can't put your hands anywhere near the brakes. If you do, it's a sign of weakness to the other guys who are challenging you. And if you touch your brakes at a moment like this, you slip back down in that line 10, 15, 20 places, then have to use a lot of energy to get back up to where you initially were. There's a new lead-out line forming on the left-hand side. The white jerseys are Argos Shimano. That is the team of Marcel Kittel.
Now momentarily out of our sight again, but Marcel Kittel is bringing up the Argos Shimano boys, or rather following them up just now.
Kwiatkowski and the white jersey at the front, the best young rider. There's a massive pile-up. Philippe Gilbert is down there, the world champion. This was right near the front end of the main field.
A very, very nasty crash there as they all went on top of each other there. That gentleman's doing well to move his seat out of the way. Gilbert is okay, he's getting back on his bike.
Well, they were all battling, Phil, for position at the front end of the main field. It was right in about 15th to 20th place. One rider went down very, very hard indeed, but they were so closely packed together, nobody could get out of the way.
Well, it's taking a little while to sort this lot out. I'm trying to look at the sprinters sat down underneath. A lot of Lotto riders, one Sky rider on the far side as well.
There are a lot of Lotto riders, and they were actually on the right-hand side at that time, Phil, trying to make them position for Andre Greipel.
Well, everybody involved will get the same time as the race winner today, that's for sure, but I don't know if any of the overall riders were involved in that one now, as we've got Mark Cavendish's team versus Marcel Kittel's team right now.
Tony Martin is on the inside for Omega Pharma Quickstep. They all know there are 2 right-hand bends on the run down towards the finish, and they all want the inside line on that. But it's now Argos Shimano are getting themselves a slight advantage, but Cavendish still has 3 riders in front of him. He's in the white jersey with the red, white and blue band around it, and he's sitting on the wheel of Gert Steegmans, the big lead-out man for him. He will want to try and get into the wheel of Gert Steegmans inside of the last 500 metres and hope that he can get the slingshot out of it.
The one man missing is the champion of Germany. At 1 kilometre to go, Greipel is not here. He was probably involved in that crash as they try now to bring Argos Shimano up. It is going to be Kittel against Cavendish against Sagan.
Well, a little bit of disorganisation. This is the first right-hand sweeper now as they come. They're looking very closely to find out where they're going to see the last sweep into the finishing line. It's Argos Shimano who are very much in control, but then on the left-hand side you've still got Omega Pharma Quick-Step moving up. On the big rider in the pale blue jersey there is Gert Steegmans.
This is the bend as Tom Wiehlers takes Marcel Kittel around the corner now. They swing wide. Sagan's perfectly positioned. They're picking up a tailwind for the sprint now, as through the middle will be a big effort now coming. Cavendish is on Steegmans' wheel on the left of our pictures. Mark Cavendish tries to come through. Can he break from the cover of Steegmans? I think he can. As Cavendish comes away now, he's chased by Marcel Kittel, but you'll never catch Cavendish at this stage of the race. But there's a second kick, and then inspiration is there, and Marcel Kittel gets 3 wins out of this year's Tour de France. What a final acceleration. And that, Paul, is what happens when you've got the confidence from 2 wins.
Well, you know, he was on the wheel of Mark Cavendish, and very often it's impossible to come out of the slipstream of Mark Cavendish, but Kittel, with 2 wins under his belt, was very, very comfortable indeed. He was confident that he could get past him. He did that the other day when we went into Saint-Malo, and at this point, as Cavendish looks across, he knows he's lost it.
He had by half a wheel, but the finish line photo wasn't the telling image. This was the sight of Mark Cavendish having launched his sprint and hit the front, being caught from behind and passed, a sight we haven't seen before in the Tour de France. So here's the stage result. Peter Sagan got a fighting third, ahead of Alexander Kristoff, Roberto Ferrari, Daryl Impey, Jose Joaquin Rojas and Johan Gen. Chris Froome and the other contenders avoided the crash behind, but not all his teammates did. Look here on the replay for the green jersey of Peter Sagan. Right behind him, William Bonnet in the blue of FDJ seems to clip his back wheel and goes down. That causes the pile-up, and one of the harder fallers is Edvald Boasson in the black sky strip landing on his shoulder. Ramūnas Nevadauskas, number 177 here, helps Vacansoleil's boy Van Poppel up, partly out of fellowship, but partly because his own Garmin teammate Jack Bauer is still buried at the bottom of the pile. There were plenty of Lotto riders down too, and that was the end of Andre Greipel's sprint chances, because although he wasn't brought down, he was held up, finishing 33rd. Now all the fallers and the delayed got the same time as the winner, because the crash was inside the final 3 kilometres. But Edvald Boasson rolled in the classic pose of a man who had broken his collarbone. That was confirmed by a trip to the on-site X-ray unit, and his tour would appear to be over. Marcel Kittel, meanwhile, is just getting going. Stage win number 3, and although neither of his rivals was there for his opener on stage 1, he has now chased down and beaten both Andre Greipel and Mark Cavendish.
You seem to have got the measure of Mark Cavendish on the Tour de France. You're faster than him. It's that simple now, isn't it?
Today I was faster. Yeah. I think I'm now at the point where I can say I'm at the top of the sprinting world, and I'm very, very proud that I made that step, that the whole team made that step. I mean, obviously it was our team which did a great job today. I'm very proud on that development, and from now on, the team and me, we have to show that we still belong there.
Yeah, I was just beaten today, you know. Yeah, that was it. I gave everything I did. The team did everything. The team did everything really perfect. You know, we talked about the last days, and I think it was spot on today. It was a good duel between my team and Argos, but yeah, eventually. No, he was just faster than me, simple as, you know. You can sit and analyse it, but when someone's just simply faster than you, there's nothing you can do.
There's some risk in going so early against Cavendish, because if it fails, it doesn't look so good, but you had the confidence to see it through.
Yeah, and it was my only chance. I just had to do it, and either I die from the front or I can still make it. That was actually the motto today, and yeah, I made it.
He's fast, Marcel Kittel, and if he beats you, he is fast.
I tweeted the other day, I think he's the next big thing, you know, and I spoke with him today, and it's like, yeah, I think he's the next superstar in sprinting anyway, and yeah, he certainly showed that this tour. He's won 3 stages now, and yeah, that's good going. That's not easy, I can tell you that from experience.
And you dedicated the win to Tom Wiehlers as well?
yeah, to the whole team, especially Tom. He was in tears after the finish line. He's a guy who is really fighting for the whole team. He's such a good guy, and I really like him. And I know that his heart was a bit broken today, that he could not do the work on the last position because of his crash injuries. And he's just someone who really deserves it.
Mark Cavendish looking across at the finish line with the shock of a man who's just floored the accelerator on a souped-up Mini Cooper S to find that an Eddie Stobart truck is overtaking him on the outside. Now, Peter Sagan, as we said, finished third to maintain his hold on the points jersey, and he was also promoted to third behind Cavendish and Greipel in the race for the minor points at the intermediate sprint, because Vacon Soleil's Chris Berkmans in the blue and yellow here impeded him and was DQ'd. No change in the overall standings, all the gaps remain as they were this morning. So Chris Froome keeps his jersey and his 3-minute 25 lead over Alejandro Valverde, even if it looks Edvald Boasson Hagen's determination to continue notwithstanding, as though he may have lost another teammate.